2.2 has always been considered around the community as a myth or just a meme for how long it has actually taken to be finished. Through all the time between 2.1 to now, a lot has been said around 2.2. That is, the new features to come out, suggestions, complaints, and memes all around it. So I decided to make a video about the whole update, talking through the memes that were made and how they rose upon, as well as the features and the controversy surrounding them, as well as why it has taken so long. Like, what are you doing, Robtop? Pick up the pace already. And all the benefits that 2.2 brought and may bring. I have a lot to say and I hope you all enjoy this video, as I find the idea of it quite the interesting one. Two 2.1 was released on the 16th of January 2017, which was pretty big as 2.1 also took a long time to even be released, with it taking 1 year and 6 months. 2.2 hadn't been talked around too much at the time as nobody was really interested, as the update 2.1 was fresh and so much was happening. A bit later on, people were also starting to be concerned when 2.2 will actually come out, as already 9 months have passed and no preview was released of it. This also kind of started the meme when 2.2 would be released, but it was still nothing major. On the 21st of November 2017, the first preview of Geometry Dash 2.2 would be released on Robtop's channel, which would showcase the new feature he had called the Random Trigger. This would also bring up the first controversy around 2.2, as a lot of people disagreed with the idea of adding a random trigger. This was mainly due to it being super annoying and was going to be misused by a ton of people and would just lower the enjoyment of a lot of levels, and I for sure do not want to see creators adding a wall at the end that you have a 1% chance to pass the level, cause that is just stupid. This also got a lot of people saying 2.2 may ruin Geometry Dash, but that was a bit over exaggerated. However, I'll talk a little bit about this feature, which is the first 2.2 feature. I'll give my opinion and discuss about it in this video. I do think the idea of having a random trigger as an RNG based factor is kind of stupid and will most definitely ruin the enjoyment of a lot of levels. However, a lot of people are missing the potential this trigger has. For example, this could be used as a two-way path that can be used, which will be decided which way you will go, as well as the decoration being different in different sections and secret Easter eggs and much more. This would make people more likely to play a level more times to see all the different outcomes, and it could definitely make levels more memorable. I am aware that creators have found ways around this, but the random trigger would be way simpler and could be used by more people. Although again, could be misused. After only 9 days, the second preview and new feature will be announced and uploaded to Robtop's channel. This was titled Fun with 2.2 Camera Controls. This showcased the so-called camera controls, which are what the name says, just changes the position of the camera that shows your cube, either making it more zoomed in or more zoomed out. Unlike the random trigger, most people liked this addition and found it somewhat interesting and thought it looked really cool. However, some people did find this also not a good feature, as people thought it would make levels a lot less sight readable, but that honestly is up to the creator. I myself like the idea of camera controls as it, as many people said, brings more intensity and dynamic into a level, which makes it much more interesting. Although I completely understand why people may not like the addition of it. This makes levels more dynamic and makes them look more intense, and can even sync up with the song, for example here. And then again, just 3 days later, another feature and preview would be released, which would showcase the addition of orbs that made you go backwards. Wait, I thought you can only go forward. Not anymore. This would be the most interesting one to the community, as it brought a whole new gameplay style to Geometry Dash and also implemented the idea of mazes and minigames. In the video, you can see the cube going back and forward and having to hit certain orbs to make it go reversed so it doesn't crash into the wall in front and then get back again to not crash into the other wall until it eventually finishes and continues on with the next part of the level. Dang, that's a lot of things happening. This, however, would bring a lot of controversial things about 2.2 and a lot of drama would start occurring. The obvious one, which was always a problem around the community, was clickbaity videos about the features, which a ton of them represented them as 2.2 release date secrets and features and more information on the update, although all of it was already public for everyone to see or just speculation and none of it was fact checked or even real. This community. Anyways, good discussion videos and tweets were made for giving their thoughts on the features, with lots of them being either negative or some positive. However, a few weeks later, something big would happen and change the way people thought of 2.2 and gave them access to something different. On December 22nd, a new game was released to the public by RobTop. Like all recent updates, RobTop has released a game with them to hype them up and put the features into test before the actual update was released. Sub-Zero was one of those games, with having 3 levels which all of them included all the previous teased and previewed features. For example, all of them had reversed orbs and camera controls, and Power Trip used the random trigger to implement different text between transitions every attempt to make it more interesting. All of this was cool and all, and pretty well made, but it also caused a lot of controversy, with many people thinking this was just an easy way for RobTop to make money and even get more popularity to the game, which it for sure did, but we don't really need to talk about that right now. C1997 made a good video on this, which is on the top right corner of the screen or in the description, where he basically says that Meltdown was disappointing, so Sub-Zero most likely will be too, which got a few people interested if that was the case. To C's surprise, it wasn't as bad as he expected them to be, as they were pretty high quality levels compared to what RobTop makes. This also got people to see what 2.2 was really like, and a lot of people were actually liking it. The camera controls, reversed orbs and random trigger were all well used, which got people even more hyped about the update. This also got people speculating that 2.2 would come out soon, as when GD World came out, it took about a month or so for 2.1 to come out, which a lot of people thought the same would happen for 2.2. However, 1 month passed and we saw nothing new. Great work, RobTop. Way to go. A lot of people were starting to wonder if 2.2 would pass the wait for 2.1 to come out, which was 1 year and about 5 months. At this point, people were starting to question if RobTop was even working on the update, as a new preview or sneak peek hadn't come out in months, which got people worried. Some people did make some speculation on the release date, but all of them turned out to be false. 2.2 was actually super silent through most of 2018, with nothing really being said. There were a few gauntlet contests hosted there and there, as well as a song hit for the next 2.2 level, which was Explorers, but apart from that, nothing really new happened until April the 8th, 2018, where he would reveal a new trigger supposedly called the Time Warp trigger, which in short words would slow down your movement by a lot for a short period of time to make a cool effect. Not much was said about this, as it wasn't really a feature we'd really need it, neither one would really hate it, but it was cool for certain parts of the song, which suddenly slowed down. Anyhow, he also mentioned a new feature which got a lot of people interested. Multiplayer mode was, let's say, a feature where you could duel your friends to who beats a level first, and rewards would possibly be given to the winner. The downside of this is, as stated by Viprin, was 2.2 has been taking so long because of the addition of challenge mode and multiplayer game mode, which is something RobTop has never made before. However, at this point, people were really starting to question 2.2's existence, as RobTop took months to reveal new features, and the features he revealed weren't all that big as well, so a lot of people were questioning if RobTop was actually working on 2.2. However, just 8 days later since that preview, we would get some hope in 2.2's release, by a tweet made by Viprin. Viprin tweeted on the 16th of August to a reply to one of his previous tweets, where he claimed that a preview of 2.2 supposedly was to come out soon, and stated that isn't false. He also mentioned RobTop was working as fast as possible to get the update as soon as possible out. However, he did say he doesn't know what soon exactly means, so that could be a few months, a year. All this information was directly from RobTop, which made people even more hyped, and it wasn't just from a Vibrant wannabe channel that wanted to be the next Vibrant. However, let's talk about multiplayer mode a bit more into detail, as it is a big part of the 2.2 update. Multiplayer mode would essentially work something like this. The players would choose a level to play, and if both accept the challenge and the level, they would both play to see who could beat it the fastest. All game mechanics would work the same, as well as the first person that would beat it would get some sort of reward, maybe stars or more diamonds. This actually would be great for GD, as it would implement a proper multiplayer system which would be loads of fun, and not the 2-player mode we already have, which you need real life friends who play GD and that are decent at the game, which is quite hard to find and meet up. There aren't many negatives to this game mode, to be honest, other than it may cause some server crashes and maintenance, as it is quite reliant on a good server and internet connection. This would honestly bring a lot of interest to the game worldwide, and more people would play the game as a result of this. After that tweet, nothing really happened for a while. Again, this is the thing with this pattern. RobTop previews something and goes quiet for months, either working in the background or slowly working or thinking of ideas, or sleeping for 2 months straight. In my opinion, for obvious reasons, this isn't the best course of action, as especially back in the day when 2.2 had already surpassed the waiting time for 2.1 to come out, people were really starting to lose hope for 2.2 and thought that it would never ever come out. And there would be a lot of complaints to RobTop and loads of questions regarding 2.2. People were also complaining where such features, whereas keep in mind, 2.2 was nowhere near as big as we know it now, so it wasn't really classified exactly as the biggest update ever, or even hyped as much, which got people disappointed in RobTop's ability to stay open about the update and work on it. Anyhow, the game continued as normal, as well as people finding a way to get into the 2.2 editor, which got people making these so-called 2.2 levels, with camera controls, reverse orbs and random triggers. This got people even more interested, as they saw the potential for minigames with easier making them and some really cool and intense layouts. However, the main problem with them is that they aren't side readable at all, which got people worried about the update, as they thought it would completely ruin and damage the game's fun and would just focus on the visual aspect. Although this has the potential to happen, I think people will get used to it and start making even better layouts. For example, the move trigger sucked at the beginning, with everything being pretty much impossible to sight read and everything looked really choppy, but now look where it is, with all cool boss fights and intense movements as well as interesting effect. It definitely was added for the better. Although we got to see a bunch of these features, drama as well also occurred. A bunch of channels started focusing on only making 2.2 levels, which got massive amounts of views, and at some point were just milking them to get ad revenue and get attention. Rightfully so, not many people like this, so a lot of people explained why this is wrong and were mad why other channels who put more effort into their videos weren't getting nearly as much attention. Sadly, the drama got a bit too far at some point and nothing actually ever happened. And there is another common thing that happens with all this 2.2 update thing. It is drama. Loads of drama occurs in the community, and most of the time it's for people making clickbaity videos or just general don't like a new feature. The biggest reason out of the two is obviously the clickbait channels, but let's be honest, it's really hard for anyone to even change someone's mind over something they're doing that is quote unquote wrong, but it gives them a big advantage and money, and they had no previous intentions of stopping so. Anyways, let's continue and fast forward a bit to October 2018, where we would see again another feature and most likely the most controversial one. In October 2018, RobTop uploaded an unlisted video to YouTube called Rob, can you just start putting normal titles to your videos? For God's sake, it's kinda getting weird at this point. Anyways, this showcased something supposedly called the platformer mode. In this video, he showcased a sort of thing where you could control how fast and where your cube goes by having these sort of arrows in the bottom left corner. Something like this Super Mario games. This may seem cool at first, but if you think about it, this isn't Geometry Dash anymore. Loads of people were mad at this and started to think 2.2 would completely ruin Geometry Dash. In short words, Geometry Dash is a fast-paced game with lots of movements and quick reactions. So, adding something where you control how fast you go and you can stop wherever you want to think about what you'll do next just removes the whole purpose of the game and just makes a completely different game. Most people agreed that this feature was bad, with the exception of some people who didn't put much thought into this and thought it was an excellent idea to implement this. This also got people really, well, you guessed it, disappointed in RobTop, as he has taken all this time to make 2.2 and the features he has aren't even useful or good. Again, nothing really much happened until December, where we would get some hope for 2.2. Finally. We also didn't get much info either at that point about this huge feature. Was it separate from normal levels? Was it optional? Could you add it in a random point in the level? What game modes could be used in this? There are so many questions that had not been answered, which also made the situation worse. On December of 2018, a streaming event would happen hosted by Red Husey, which got a bunch of GD channels to stream the game for a full 24 hours, taking turns each time. On Chris' Credible stream, RobTop actually showed up and we got some very promising 2.2 news. RobTop said a bunch of cool stuff like there will be a whole new scaling system implemented and it will be great for GD, but nobody cared because everybody just wanted the release date of the update already. And that's exactly what he did. Wow. He said that he wanted to get the update before Christmas and everybody was really hyped since it was direct information from RobTop and a lot of people believed him and they thought that was actually the release date. The days passed, and guess what? No 2.2. Not surprising. However, we did get one preview which was pretty interesting, especially for the creating community. On February 23rd, we got a preview of a new particle editor system, which basically lets you create particles, let's say. It looks pretty cool to say the least, and most people were happy with it, although some people were kind of disappointed in the feature itself, as it wasn't really a necessity. However, we started to see more hope. RobTop was being more active now and also made the official Geometry Dash Discord server, which from time to time would go in there and start chatting and answering questions about 2.2. This brought even more hype to 2.2 again, as he was mentioning features fast, and 2019 would be a year where the most features would be announced up until now. There were new things such as the scale trigger he previewed, the new scaling system he talked about in Chris' Credible stream, new gauntlets where he previewed, and so much more. Many of these features were really helpful, but a lot of them were kind of useless. However, I wanted to discuss how these features work a bit and how they will impact the Geometry Dash community, as I think a lot of people either haven't seen the full potential of these features like these ones, or just haven't understood them as a whole. First of all, let's start simple, with the scale trigger and the new scaling system. The scale trigger is really straightforward. You set the object to a value of how much you want it to scale, and according to what you put and the time you want it to take, it will scale to that accordingly. Listen, I know people have already made this so-called effect for quite a while now, as shown on the screen, but it is really limited and a pain to make, and this would make things a ton easier, and we can make all sorts of cool effects as well as cool gameplay mechanics, so I can't wait to see what people have to offer. Definitely a worth adding feature. Now let's take a look to the new scale mechanics. Right, he really didn't show much in this preview, but we can assume that it is sort of like a free move. Just instead of changing the position of the object, you change the size. You can see that it doesn't only have to keep the aspect ratio, but it can also do this cool parallax effect and much more. To be honest, this is great, as well as you will be able to scale infinitely as said by RobTop. This is definitely going to make creating a ton easier, as well as new designs to be thought. Again, a definitely worth adding feature. And I know we have infinite scaling like with hacks and stuff, but this will just be straight into the game, which will be much easier. The community was really happy about them, as they should, because the possibilities and how much easier creating is made by them is just amazing. Now let's continue with the next feature Robtop featured. Okay, that was confusing. He featured a new and improved random trigger, which was way better than the old one, and we also saw some changes to the move triggers, which I have to say, how the heck did you mess up this simple visual thing? Come on, it's so infuriating. After that, we also got some new things announced, such as a trigger for placing an ending like an end screen, as well as infinite groups, and stuff such as like marking an object as untouchable, making the rotate trigger smoother, as well as just some quality of life features, such as the spawn trigger loop being able to be added with just one tap, like build helper for example. This was super important as so much of this would make creating much easier, and especially the infinite groups now literally made Geometry Dash a game which you could create literally anything. Other things such as the object limit being raised to unlimited, and more fonts and animated objects, as well as a new pixel block which seems super interesting and useful especially for art levels. However, we also got basically all we need to know about the platformer levels. Like things such as you can pause and resume it whenever you want. It is a complete separate game mode, such as 2-player levels, let's say, and things such as being able to interact with walls, and the arrow keys would be the way to control the mode on a PC. All of this is super interesting and brings different types of skill sets into the game and makes the game have a wider range of audience, which would definitely be interesting. Now we have one last big feature to talk about, and that is the new auto build system. This is quite the interesting feature as it is thought as one of the best features by many people and as one of the features that can completely destroy Geometry Dash. This basically is as it says, an auto build. You basically make a template with some cool design or with whatever you want, which speeds up the process a lot, as you can select a block and it would automatically fill it for you. At first glance this seems cool, as it would speed building up a lot, but then again, a lot of generic and lazy levels could come out, as them making block sets could take so little effort. They just make a basic template and then just copy it to all the blocks and make some tweaks there and there. Obviously we don't want that to happen, but if you think about it, I don't think this will actually happen, as the auto build most likely can't add extremely complicated decoration and most likely won't be that bad, as it will be pretty obvious if it was copy pasted. I think Robtop now should add some official standards, like no copy pasting much, or a level must be longer than 20 seconds so people can actually be respectful about a level getting rated or not. However, this should be fixed as Robtop is adding 2 new ratings, the legendary and godlike. This should make higher quality levels stand out more than a low worthy epic or feature, so that is cool. This would also make for levels to be out much quicker but still at the same quality. This would really be revolutionary for levels, and we could also see some cool levels out using the feature, although some lazy and generic levels could be made out of this. After that, Robtop mostly previewed small stuff which hyped up the community and basically confirmed that 2.2 would be the biggest update Geometry Dash has ever seen. These features would be new gauntlets, new icons and contests, as well as stuff like diamonds and orbs being more interesting and useful, as well as just some more bug fixes to the game. However, recently Robtop has actually started streaming on Twitch and has previewed so much to say the least. Things such as new icons, an official icon contests, shards, and has officially named multiplayer mode to versus mode and has said that it isn't exactly multiplayer, but more so who beats it first, separately if one is playing the level or not, and you won't be able to see the other player in the game. This brings a lot of possibilities to 2.2, with races being easier and bringing new challenges and a more competitive side to the game. Many people have also referred to this as the best feature of 2.2, for example, Technical and Epesta. Lastly, a few more ratings came with the Legendary and Godlike as we mentioned before, with the Godlike being like a sort of thing to determine the best level of the year, which is really interesting. And we also saw a bit of a story in 2.2, which is called the map. It seems as if you have to pass through gauntlets and you may unlock a special reward in the end. This makes the game a bit more interesting and is something you could do for fun and make complete, basically how the gauntlets were. This obviously got people very excited, but this also arose another question. Do we need all of this? Lots of people already said that they don't need 2.2 to do more, and they think the update won't change too much and will just bring more hype for a few days and slowly die after a bit. This also questioned more stuff like if the update is worth waiting, and if it could damage GD as a game with all the new features like platformer mode, and how building and levels will get affected by this. And what even is the answer to this? Some questions are easy to answer, such as 2.2 can't really ruin Geometry Dash, but just so disappoints some people and members of the community, but it really is a small percentage of the game's player base anyways. But things such as do we need 2.2 and how the new features will change GD need quite a bit more thought into it. For example, we can already create some amazing levels in 2.1 and there's still lots of things to do with more levels. We obviously could do a lot, but in my opinion, at least in the next 5 years, we need a new update to keep some sort of relevance in the game. 2.2 will for sure bring much more into the game, and 2.2 will sort of run out of new and creative ideas in it. Now for the second big question. How will 2.2 change Geometry Dash as a whole? Will it be completely different? Will it be more confusing, more interesting? Will the community blow up? And how will levels change after its release? All of this is quite hard to answer, but I have a short and simple answer to summarize what I think might happen and what I think will happen. In short words, I think GD will blow up in popularity for a short period of time, with lots of people joining and coming back as their interest peaked. Geometry Dash will become a tiny bit more confusing, but also a lot more interesting, with lots to do at the start, from the new gauntlets, testing out new icons, the new levels, platformer mode, and challenge mode, and much more. Geometry Dash, however, will still kind of feel the same, just a very upgraded version, with the editor being quite different, as well as more stuff would be added, which we thought would neither be impossible to be in the game, or we just thought we'd never see. Overall, 2.2 is a very positive thing, and I don't think it can ruin the community. Despite it taking so long, I do think it is better late than never, as well as it being a bigger update than a smaller one. I do genuinely hope the update won't be that buggy, although RobTop did say it will be. The community after this didn't really say much else other than telling RobTop to start finishing the update up so he can get it out as soon as possible, and believe it or not, he kind of did. He has since mentioned that there will be no new features added in the update and just bug fixing remains, which I hope he does a good job on. Now the community is kind of in between, with being optimistic as well as kind of worried how long it might take, as we still don't have the preview out or any Explorers preview. We're still getting monthly previews and even weekly previews at this point, and progress over the update, but the main issue was that he was focusing too much on quantity over quality at some point. Basically adding 100 new icons and so many gauntlets instead of focusing on basic stuff such as bug fixing and adding useful features. I am aware he has added some very good features which I'm very excited for, but you could have just removed the useless ones completely and we could have gotten the update out already. However, at least those smaller features hyped up the community even more, but to be honest, I don't actually know if that's a good or bad thing, as it could make people have even higher standards for the update and they could be more disappointed when it comes out, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Anyways, that is 2.2 up to until now. I really hope it does come out soon, as it really has taken too long at this point, but it does have some cool features and it will be exciting when it comes out and will change Geometry Dash forever. So that is it, a brief history of 2.2. From all the memes that came out with it, the features, the community's reaction, a timeline from where they came and where they are now, as well as why it's taking so long. I thought this was quite interesting, as 2.2 does have quite a bit of backstory and it is quite interesting. I also thought that explaining how some features could be used and how it will be used would be interesting, and if they are a good addition, a useless addition, or straight out bad. Let me know in the comments down below what you think of this video, and make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed. Anyways, I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye!